Incremental greetings! Do you know the date of today? It's December 13. That means it's the anniversary of speed repetition software and therefore SuperMemo because it was born with SuperMemo. I covered this last year if you want to check it out, but instead of repeating the same information, what I will do is a recap of yesterday's event. We carried a county event with the presence of Piotr Wozniak, the creator, the mastermind behind SuperMemo, and the CEO of SuperMemo World, which is the name of the company. His name is Christoph Biadalak, something like that. My apologies for butchering his name. So what I will do is just to point out what I think it was most relevant during the about 3-hour event with both of them, and I will just give you the outline, like a journalist. Pam 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 pam, bullet points. So 34th anniversary of speed repetition software. Nice. So the first question is one of the questions I actually asked myself. When will be SuperMemo 8.19 released? Because SuperMemo 18, it's been already a while. And the official answer from Wozniak is that he doesn't know. Then you may ask, yeah, well, he is aware that Internet Explorer is about to die. Has a death sentence next year, right? I'm not 100% sure SuperMemo 19 will be released before that. I'm not sure. But even though it's not the end of the world, first, you can use the 360 Chinese browser. I have a video on that if you want to check it out and if you want to use it. Second, just yesterday, there has been a new release of SuperMemo Assistant, which among other things, now you have the import++ plugin. So you can import from Firefox and Chrome. Not only that, but you can customize how the import works. It's like importing on steroids. It's not just that I can import from another browser and that's it. It's a lot more than that. Second, that's inevitable. Someone has to ask always and complain about the user interface. Why the user interface is like this? Why don't you update it to the 21st century, right? And Wozniak answered it with an analogy with Total Commander software. In case you didn't know what I did, I installed this app myself. And this app is from 1993. So it's kind of old, same as SuperMemo, and has been developed across at least 2 decades. And it is extremely powerful. I bet that it's a lot more powerful than the built-in file explorer from Windows, right? You can do so many things quicker and so on. But look at the presentation. The user interface hasn't changed much across time. Same with SuperMemo. Yes, now we have the themes. I think that's a new incorporation of SuperMemo 18. So I can use the dark theme now. And a small little details like the emoji when you review, when you rate yourself, this and that, but it's almost the same thing, right? Well, that's because it has never been a focus. The efficiency is on the rows. So the user interface is not that relevant. And second, because in case you don't know, SuperMemo staff use a SuperMemo collection for all the tasks, a task list, for all the bugs and everything that has to be amended or added, feature to be added and so on. And I think the count is above 5,000 already. And some of them, I guarantee, that has been there waiting for years. They are not high priority enough. So therefore, they are just waiting. And user interface is not one of them. The user based in China. So I'm glad to know, especially from firsthand from Winston, and a splendid person and user of SuperMemo from China, that speaks English spot on, a lot better than I do. And what he says, and also, by the way, some other Chinese people were in the event. So more or less the outline is that, interestingly, there's a user base of SuperMemo users in China. But what happened, and it's growing, I think. But what is happening is that all of them are using SuperMemo for the sake of schooling. That could be high school, college, and this kind of thing. So it's not using free learning. Next, that is a very juicy topic because most people, including me, want SuperMemo to be open source. In fact, yeah, I will skip my input here. The thing is that first you have to differentiate what means to be community driven and what means to be open source. And one of the participants made an example with Android operating system for phones. Yes, it's from Google. It's open source. You can download and read the code, but it's not community driven. And on the other side of this coin is that open source can be seen as the closest thing as society is a network. And this is interesting for both of them, Wozniak and Bialek. And they agree that in the future, the way to go would be open source. Or at least they are embracing the idea of open source. And what Wozniak said, more or less, I don't remember exactly what he said, but paraphrasing with my filter, is that if some team builds an open source memo that is good enough for him to use it, he will be absolutely open. Next, Wozniak personal collection with biology. I think it was the Chinese guy, Winston, that he said that he's using his biology collection from the store. I'm impressed. I thought just a few people were buying the advanced English collection, but someone is buying the old collections from the store, one of them being biology. And his answer from Wozniak is that first, it's extremely outdated, that's a guarantee, because the collection is from the early 90s. And second, that it's well-schooled. The items are well-schooled, in the sense that are not using the 20 rules of formulation that he later on in time developed, in the sense that he was asking the same thing as in the school. What are the 5 basic elements of whatever? And a list, and perhaps a mnemonic to recall this list. And as you may know, that's not a good way to learn or to make flashcards, right? So, long story short, it's a good point to start. If you're interested in biology, therefore, will be a good start for you to learn how to formulate cards and how to spot mistakes and learn from those mistakes. Why this card is not good or not good enough, and so on. If your theme is biology, go ahead. If your theme is English, go for English. I strongly recommend that. Even though myself have been using, just a little input, I myself have been using speed repetition for 12 years before SuperMemo. I still learn from the English collection, but not the content itself, the English, which it happens to be low, is how to formulate the knowledge. Absolutely brilliant. It is well worth the money. Next, someone asked to the CEO, Christoph Bialek, if it's difficult to work with him, with Wozniak. And he replied, it's not that it's difficult, it's impossible, right? Because of his approach. He's very solid on his models and his methodology. So it's very hard to work with a team with one person like this, right? So they found out one way across time, across 3 decades to work and so on, and this will be also for the community. For instance, if you want to make the SuperMemo system using an API, or you want to license the algorithm and use it, I don't know, perhaps as software as a service with on the cloud or whatever, it will be hard to work with him, right? Next, solution for medical school. That's interesting. He said that he doesn't know the answer. He doesn't know a solution, at least today. Because you know that in medical school, first you have a lot of material to learn, to memorize for exams. And very little time. Absolutely little time. I think medical school is the extreme peak, the most extreme outlier we can use as an example with today's society on college and so on. So what happens is that if you want to practice medicine, you have no other choice to get a license. And to get a license, you have to go to college for, I don't know, 6, 8 years or 10, depends on the specific branch. So that's a big deal, right? And there are users who are using speed repetition for medical school. That's quite common. But that's not a solution, because it's just cramming. Interesting, his idea, at least to point out that he doesn't know a solution. Then, that was not a question. That was a statement of SuperMemo of Wozniak part. That, hey, wait, I have a question to the community. SuperMemo community, or at least the people attending there. Because you are asking about SuperMemo, open source, more features, and so on, more sophisticated, but what's more important? To have the first class, world class learning tool, the best, with high amounts of budget. You can guarantee a superb, closest to the maximum, to the perfection, piece of software to learn, or to free all the children that are not free and experience coercion in schooling and all that comes with that it's a extremely big deal, right? You have to prioritize both. Wozniak prioritized free children from coercion, from school slavery before the software. Now if I think for myself egoistically, I would really like best software possible so I can enhance my learning at my maximum capacity, right? But if I generally think it's more important to save children, because what will be the applicability to deliver the best learning tool if people are not free to do so, are not free to learn, or could be used very wrong way, in the sense of a well-schooled, quote-unquote, well-schooled way. Because SuperMemo, speed repetition, can be used in a way that is extremely harmful and inefficient. First, save the children. When we eradicate compulsory schooling and everyone can free learn, then will make sense to dedicate time and effort to get the best learning tool. First, you open the opportunity, and then you guarantee a good quality of that opportunity. Then, someone asked, or I don't know if it was a question or a statement, but we talk about the future of speed repetition. I mean long-term future, not necessarily next year. And the future is not based on flashcards. Flashcards are outdated already, are a very primitive way to get knowledge. Well, interestingly, I did brainstorm this idea with the guy I introduced SuperMemo to, the first one, which it's on YouTube, it's on record. I think the video, it's called Teaching How to Use SuperMemo as an Anki User. And I did that when I was just a few months in SuperMemo. The point was just to show that SuperMemo is not a big deal. It's yes, I knew less. I was less capable than I am today, but it was enough to get the basics and introduce someone to get the basics, right? So what we did is brainstorming is just imagine with language learning, instead of using flashcards, what you can do is virtual reality with a software. So you get an NPC, non-playable character, or an hologram, whatever you want to call it, and you speak to this. So let's say that I'm interested now in Greek. So I can speak Greek to that person. That obviously is not necessarily a real person. In that case, will be artificial intelligence. I could speak with that person. I will still call it person. Everything will be behind the scenes. So I don't explicitly create cards or read myself the card and so on, make the connections and so on. It's okay. It's already into database, the words I know from Greek. So the person I speak to can speak to me in Greek, but adjusting to the vocabulary I know and incorporating new words when they are outstanding, right? Is, oh, that could be like a review, but it's so embedded, it's so implicitly reviewed that it's really hard to tell, oh, I'm using spaced repetition now, right? And as I incorporate new vocabulary, that NPC can use more and more expressions, a richer vocabulary, grammar constructions, and so on. That's fascinating. That is just language learning. That is the easiest example for me, if it's dialogue. But imagine using spaced repetition in a natural way, communicating. And oh my god, imagine brainstorming with this as well, with this kind of thing. Absolutely brilliant. Next question. Wozniak said that he doesn't experience much grief. Oh my god, grief. That's a personal question, but I'm including this question because it's public. It's in his website. You know that there's one citation that I think his mother died, and in a few hours he was moving on to his learning stuff and so on. So he says that, okay, the fact that I'm not experiencing much grief, it is pathological, or is because he has been free, he experienced freedom at such tremendous degree for so long, for 3 decades, longer than 3 decades, that you are so happy, so free of toxicity, stress, and so on, that it's extremely hard to feel grief. That's a very good observation. Obviously, that also depends on every person. But I don't have that much time, so I just have a few years of freedom. I'm just a newbie on freedom, I could say. But I experienced something related to that. I don't worry that much, or I don't regret the mistakes I do, or I did in the past that for many years I did feel pain for those. Oh man, such a mistake, I will pay the consequence for life. This is like a burning fire, like an open wound that will never heal, right? It will cicatrize there and there, but it will never be healed, healthy again. What I'm noticing that I'm putting input even if I don't want to, so this video will be extremely biased. Next, plan. Someone asked, why is it so hard to use plan? But someone asked, oh, is someone here on the event using plan? So I think 3 people or so said yes, but they didn't stick for longer than 2 weeks or a month. And I think it was Raj that he said that he knows more people who more or less they give up within a month or before that, right? Why it's so hard? And what Wozniak said is that, he's very rigid on his models. And he stick to the plan for, decades. But now, that he's on Discord and on Facebook with the strike and so on. So now he experienced this firsthand that, now it's a lot harder to plan your day. Because on the social interaction, most of things cannot be planned, are sporadic. I haven't planned to do this, and this takes, for instance, the event from yesterday. I haven't planned to have a 3-hour slot for this event on Discord, right? So it's a lot harder to plan. If you're familiar with creativity, his writings, Wozniak writings on creativity, you may be familiar with his approach. Is to get rid of the distractions, to isolate yourself, to focus on your window, your maximum potential for creativity and so on, right? So this is a lot easier to plan because what variables can interfere with this? It's more or less about just yourself. If you procrastinate or not, or if you're tired or not, or whatever. You don't have some external sources that will deprive you. You cannot do this now. You have to attend this meeting. You don't have to do this. There's something, interaction or questions, and you have to postpone whatever you're doing. This kind of thing. So yes, it's hard, but the social interaction is a big factor of this. And finally, Raj, in case you don't know who he is, he's one SuperMemo user. The same you will see in this channel that introduced me to SuperMemo 1.5 years from now. It's the same guy. He has one project of mentoring, SuperMemo. He's managing a project for mentoring. So mentorees, people who want to be mentored, can get the most suitable or someone who can be their mentor. Keep in mind, That is not about SuperMemo as a software. For me, it's a lot more than that. It's about how to approach learning, free learning, using SuperMemo as a tool. So it's not about how to use SuperMemo. I have lots of videos in this channel, how to use SuperMemo, the hard skills, let's say. That, you want to use the pending queue and so on, bam, please click here, and so on. But that's it. Or priorities, how to, with priorities. Okay, but how I use priorities, when I need to change priorities. Why do I care? When, or how should I care about priorities, and so on. Or if I want to learn math or a language, what do I do with SuperMemo? That's a different thing. And not only that, is if you come from a school, which most likely, sadly, will be true, is how you undo the harm and do free learning efficiently. That's fascinating. That's actually what I want to do for a living, for a job. And if I could have my finances covered and I could be free, I will do it without charge. You may have noticed that I'm very active on SuperMemo Wiki Discord, especially in the SM questions. I don't know how many, but I answered lots of questions and also from direct messages. So that's so cool, because what happens is that people perhaps could reach me. Yes, I can teach you the basics, but if you're really keen into learn mathematics or physics, I cannot help you with all the journey, because I don't have experience creating, formulating knowledge and so on for physics or mathematics. So I'm very far from the best option for mentoring and so on. So with this approach, it's okay for the pool of people who are open to mentoring, who is the most suitable for you. So you can benefit, you can get the most out of the mentoring, right? So more or less, that's all what we covered on the event. What I will do is one of every single topic that I think it's worth discussing, I will do a writing. Now what I will do is I will write and I will do the videos as well. So if you don't want to watch videos, you can get the writing as well. What will happen is that this will take longer. I'm extremely pleased to have experienced firsthand, to get in touch. It's so cool that Wozniak and the CEO, Christoph Jodolak, can get firsthand with the community at least once a year about SuperMemo. That's so cool. And that they are open to embrace the community on the future. So you can guarantee one of us or several of us will have a very big impact in the future. I'm very certain of this. Absolutely. So nothing more to add here, and see you next year on the 35th anniversary of SuperMemo.